Welcome back, Mando.
Oh, greetings once again, Bucketheads. Mevar Tagar. Welcome to our 325th Holy Holocron Hijinks episode of Mandovision. And I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. We are so glad that you're here. Reach out to us on those socials at Mando_Vision on Twitter/X and Instagram. You can hit Mandovision at Blue Sky. And you can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Hey, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, Bucketheads, we are back for another exciting Star Wars Rebels rewatch. And it's a good one. I'm not going to lie. I like this episode quite a bit. But before we do get into that, hey, Star Wars things are going on all over the place, right? It seems to be somewhat official now, officially unofficial, maybe is the best way to describe it, that Matt Smith has been cast in the new Star Wars Starfighter film coming out in 2027. Word seems to be that he'll be playing some sort of baddie for the flick, along with Mia Goth is also in the flick as a bad person. Are they the same? Are they on the same? Are they teaming up as baddies? Are they two different baddies? I don't know. There's a lot of speculation around this movie, around this film, what it is going to be. One of the things that is speculated about is that Ryan Gosling's character will be be sort of in charge of protecting a Force-sensitive child. I feel like we've seen that before. But hey, maybe it's a new spin if that's the case. But again, we really don't know anything. Nothing really is officially out there. This is just speculation. So I think people are speculating away and maybe going in some wrong directions. I mean, let's hope so. Like, we've seen someone protecting a Force-sensitive child. It's called The Mandalorian, and they're getting their own movie. So what do I need to see a movie about that with Ryan Gosling a year later? I don't know. Also, don't like the rumors that maybe this is like setting up the next new Jedi Order saga. I don't set things up. Just be self-contained. That's kind of where my head's at. If there's one or two things they want to throw in there that the next Jedi films wanted to pick up and run with, sure, I guess. But it doesn't have to be like a gateway film. I think we put a lot of pressure on this movie if we try to turn it into like some kind of launching pad for the next era of Star Wars theatrical movies. Now, granted, like, again, Sean Levy is probably more than capable of providing said launching pad, but I don't know. I guess I don't want there to be a lot of pressure on these Star Wars movies. They just need to exist. They need to come about in the most creatively fulfilling way possible instead of being some sort of mandate. And I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. Again, I'm looking forward to the movie. We don't really know anything officially about it just yet. It's still quite some time away from us being able to actually see it. We will get The Mandalorian and Grogu in theaters long before we see anything from Starfighter. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, Star Wars comics are coming out on a regular basis. The new Legacy of Vader book is out. I actually found it to be I found it to be one of the more enjoyable books of the run so far. I've kind of gone back and forth on this whole Kylo Ren thing. This quest to sort of be better than Vader at everything he can try to figure out there. An interesting issue this past week with him hunting down another survivor of Order 66, who at his point in the timeline is very, very, very old. But an interesting comic nonetheless, and maybe one of the better ones I've read from this Legacy of Vader book. Also out is the new Bad Batch novel. I am looking forward to picking that up. I have not done so yet, but I have also become a notoriously slow reader. So it may be a little while before you hear me talking about it at any point on the podcast. But if you're a Bad Batch fan, I would suggest picking up that book and kind of getting in and seeing what they got the Batch up to in that novel. All right, I think that's kind of all the Star Wars stuff news I want to talk about ahead of time. I do want to mention that I am 99.9% sure we are going to put out a special bonus podcast later this week. There is a show returning to HBO Max later this month. Season 2 of Peacemaker coming to HBO Max later this summer. August 21st, I believe, is when it will debut. I was a really big fan of the first season of the show. The first season of Peacemaker really defied my expectations. I thought it'd be like a sort of a fun romp, for eight or so episodes across like this with James Gunn's perspective, just kind of a fun adventure show. Thought it'd be a real hoot. Turned out that show had a really strong emotional core to it that resonated with me and a lot of other people in a big bad way. And in a previous life when I had a different podcast going on, our good friend here on the Mandovision podcast, Reagan from Come On It's So Good, he came and hung out with me and we discussed a lot of our favorite parts of that series and why it sort of clicked really, really big and bad for both of us. So I think I'm going to re-release that episode that he and I did 3 years ago when that show wrapped up because, again, it came out 3 years ago, and it came out like in January too, like at the beginning of the year, and it remained like one of my favorite shows for that year. Like it was like a top 5 show the year that it came out for me. So like I said, it hit hard. We did I thought it was a really good look back at season 1. So I'm gonna cut that together. I gotta recut it a little bit, but I'll get it out to you guys hopefully later this week. If not next week at the absolute latest, but I think later this week is the target. So we'll get that to you guys. It will be what's the word I want to use? Explicit listen. There will be cursing in that one. I can't. There's too much for one person to take out. So again, I'm recutting the show in a way, but I'm not going through there and picking out all the curse words. So it will have the big E next to it when you see it, but it is a bonus show. So if you don't want to listen to it because it's not Star Wars related, you can just skip right past it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our episode today for Star Wars Rebels. Let's get into this. So let's get the particulars out of the way. Star Wars Rebels Season 3, Episode 3, The Holocrons of Fate. Original air date was October 1st, 2016. Written by Henry Gilroy. Directed by Stuart Lee. Our primary cast: Taylor Gray is Ezra Bridger. Vanessa Marshall is Hera Syndulla. Freddie Prinze Jr. is Kanan Jarrus. Tia Sakar is Sabine Wren. Steve Blum is Zeb Orielos. Tom Baker is the Bendu. And Sam Witwer returns as Maul. Our plot for this one: when Maul takes the crew of the Ghost hostage, Ezra and Kanan must pass a trial in order to recover an ancient Sith artifact to save them. Well, yes, technically that is correct, though it is the Sith holocron that they recovered at the end of Season 2 from the temple at Malachor, where Kanan lost his sight. And then Kanan entrusted that holocron to the Bendu last episode. And they have to get it back already. But it's a good episode, and we're going to get into it right now. You know what that means, friends. It's time. Strap on your buckets, and let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off.
You're going to have to relocate the covert.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So we have the return of Maul in this episode, and I like the way it's set up at the very beginning. We have Kanan and Ezra. They're going out. They're in hyperspace. They're going to try and meet up with a rebel ship. They find it. It's derelict. It's been attacked. Not derelict, but it's been attacked. It's floating through space, powerless, lifeless, listless. They go on board. The lone survivor of the battle aboard identifies a red blade, And of course, Ezra and Kanan believe that to be another Inquisitor is after them. We also find out from this lone survivor that he's given up the location of the ghost to the Red Blade. Well, Ezra goes to make a call to Hera to warn him, but we find out that it is way too late. But that said Red Blade, the believed Inquisitor, is none other than Maul himself. Back, and he wants the holocron that he was denied on Malachor. He's desperate for it, and he's taken the crew of the Ghost hostage, and he will now use that as leverage to get Kanan and Ezra to give him the Sith holocron. Oh, and also, he wants to get his hands on Kanan's Jedi holocron. And we'll find out why very, very soon. But Kanan, a little miffed that Ezra even told Maul that Kanan had a Jedi holocron. So it's time to get the Sith holocron back. Again, Kanan agrees to these things. He doesn't like it, but he's not going to risk his family for the holocrons. And besides, he's a Jedi. He's going to have a trick or two up his sleeves, right? Like, that's just the way it's going to go. But getting the Sith holocron back is going to be a little bit trickier than anticipated because of Kanan giving it to the Bendu at the close of their conversation last week, entrusting it to the Bendu to keep safe. Well, now we're in a position where we already need to get it back from the Bendu. So Ezra and Kanan go back to Atollon, and they're going to find the Bendu out there in the wide wilderness of the planet. Ezra's yet to meet the Bendu and is very blown away when the Bendu reveals himself, but it's a very playful scene beforehand because Ezra is armed with one of the thumpers to repel the Krykna spiders. And while his back is turned, the Bendu, you just see his little hand come out and pluck the what Ezra refers to as the thumper, which is a fun Dune reference, by the way. Plucks that out of the ground and breaks it into two, and then the Krykna spiders kind of coming in around them. And Ezra's still freaking out about it. He hasn't had that experience yet, like Kanan did, where he learns to not be the aggressor, which triggers the spiders. So he's still sort of agitating the spiders as he lets fear kind of dominate him to a sense. And then the Bendu reveals himself, the master of the apprentice. It's a whole fun bit. Tom Baker doing a great job as the Bendu. What is significant in this section is the Bendu understands very clearly what Maul is trying to do by getting his hands on a Jedi holocron and a Sith holocron. He's gonna put them together and create a vergence in the Force, by which he will be able to sort of peer into the Force and get answers to any questions he may have. Anything he desires to know will be available to him. One of the more clear definitions, one of the more clear instances of us getting a Force vergence, right? I feel like sometimes the Force vergence is just like our plot device for something Forcey to happen that we don't have to have explained to us later. We won't talk about the negative Force vergences. It's a whole pathway that we don't want to go down. In this context, in this episode, it's all good. We understand. All right, so yeah, Maul wants both of these holocrons to get answers. So that's what he's doing. That's what he's up to. Now comes the part where the Bendu reveals that, yeah, okay, you can get the Sith holocron back if you can get it back. He's left it down in a cave, surrounded by Krykna spiders, and it's up to Ezra to recover it. At least Ezra thinks it's up to him to recover it. He goes down there solo. He still feels responsible for Kanan's blindness, still feels that Kanan's not capable enough to go and do these things. So he takes it on himself. He's going to go down there, and it's not until Kanan pulls his lightsaber from him that Ezra even begins to contemplate that there's more going on here than just going back down there and recovering the holocron, right? Like, he can't just cut his way through these spiders now to get it. And as Kanan tells the Bendu, that Ezra has to learn how to solve problems without a lightsaber. And Ezra runs into problems on his way. Once the communicator device goes out and he's cut off from Kanan decides he's going to go down there and help him out. And we get a nice scene between the two characters, right? They're talking to each other. Kanan's explaining, again, you can't be the aggressor in all these situations, all these circumstances. Look at these creatures. Your aggression triggers their aggression. So if you stay calm, if you stay peaceful, if you go with peace, You can move amongst the Krykna spiders just fine. It's not a big deal. But when you're scared, when you're agitated, you trigger them. Regardless, a great moment between the two characters when Kanan arrives down in the caves to lend a hand, and Ezra begins to see that he is capable. He's in this cave with no sight, but he sees in a different way now, right? So they come to terms with each other. Ezra wanting forgiveness for causing, in his mind, the attack that resulted in Kanan's blindness. Except Kanan never viewed it that way. There's nothing for Kanan to forgive because he never blamed Ezra for it once. So the two characters finally come together in the way that we would have liked them to at the end of last episode. And as the Bendu sort of notes, it sort of restores the balance of the Force, at least for the balance of the Force for these two characters and their dynamic as master and apprentice. They are back together on the same page. Now, again, we got to remember, as was pointed out to us at the beginning of the episode, the Sith Holocron is dangerous, and it almost destroyed Ezra in many regards. But Ezra's still sort of tempted by the Holocron and the idea of using the knowledge it contains to destroy the Sith. That comes into play a little bit later. But Ezra's always looking for these solutions and always believes himself to be capable of resisting these urges, even though we've seen that he's not so good at it after all. But now that the two characters are back on the same page, they can attack these problems together. And that's what's important here. So they recover the Holocron, and they're going to go off to find their friends, their family. And it's an interesting element of the show, right? Because we see them. We cut back and forth to the crew of the Ghost being hostages of Maul. There's a fun scene with Maul aboard the Ghost, looking around and realizing that the Ghost is more than just a ship that takes them from place to place. That is, in fact, their home. He looks and sees all the adornments on the wall, the way that the ship has really sort of become customized. That it is a de facto home for these characters, and he wants a tour. So he gets Hera to give him a tour, but not before taking a parting jabs at Sabine for saying that, hey, Mandalorian, you should trust me because after all, I led your people for a while. And Zeb's even like, wait, is that true? And she has to admit that yes, indeedy, it was true. And we also have to remember too, at this point in time, we don't really know how he was deposed of as the ruler of Mandalore. That sort of stuff's not really out there in the world just yet. And those episodes of the Clone Wars are certainly not available to view at the time of this show being released. So Hera takes them around and begins to show them the chambers. We see Zeb's, and he says, Maul comments on the smell. We go to Sabine's, and it's obviously very colorful and bright and not very much to Maul's liking. But when he arrives at a very Spartan chamber, he knows very, very quickly that it is indeed Kanan Jarrus's room, because it is sparse. It is dull and drab. It is very obviously the chamber of a Jedi Knight. And in this room is where Maul uses the Force to coax information from Hera's mind. Not cool. But this is where he's able to find out that the Holocron, the Jedi Holocron that he's looking for, is already in this room, and he is going to recover it right now. He also becomes very quickly frustrated that he is unable to open up the Jedi Holocron, because the Jedi Holocron, unlike the Sith Holocron, does not require efforts of brute force to be opened. It is a much more nuanced Holocron compared to the Sith Holocron, which wants you to use those baser emotions like anger and hate and the element of superiority and power to open up the Sith Holocron. That's not going to work for the Jedi Holocron, and Maul doesn't know how to access the Force in that way. So he's completely shut out of the thing. He needs Kanan and Ezra. The Bendu has warned Kanan and Ezra that one of them will be put to the task of opening that for Maul, because the Bendu knew that Maul would be unable to open it. It's just not the way a Sith works. So they have been warned. The Bendu does impart some valuable information, not as valuable as the stuff he was teaching to Kanan in the last couple of episodes, but not too shabby at the same time. So now it's time for Kanan and Ezra to go find their friends. They know the location of the ghost, which I don't know if I wasn't. Maybe I missed something, but I swear to God, I had no idea the ghost was parked on a station. I just thought they were in space. So when Kanan and Ezra arrive at a station, I was like, oh, all right. But Maul has the run of the place, and he's keeping the crew of the ghost somewhere else, a secondary location. And he greets Ezra by calling him his apprentice, and doing all the usual Maul things, right? Driving that wedge between the two. And he wants Ezra to go with him. He's going to take Kanan and push him out of an airlock. That's very exciting. Obviously, he's not going to tell Ezra he's pushing Kanan out of an airlock, but that's what happens, right? So Kanan's immediately in a battle for survival here as he gets shot out into space. One of the few times we get to see that sort of thing in Star Wars. Not a whole lot of that. And Kanan uses his abilities to get back into the station, uses the Force, uses the zero gravity to his benefit, much like the often maligned Princess Leia, seen in The Last Jedi. But hey, Kanan did it first, maybe did it better. What are you going to do? And he gets back in, and I love that he comes back into the station, and he's got like the ice crystals forming on his body because he was out there in the exposure. Obviously, they don't make too big of a deal about like all the skin stuff, but hey, it's Star Wars. They did the ice. That was enough for me. That was enough of the reminder that we are in the cold vacuum of space. But this frees Kanan up, right, to go and find his friends, which he does, because after believing he's just killed Kanan, and which, by the way, Maul and Kanan have a pretty fun exchange right before Maul pushes him out of the airlock. How he didn't mean to blind Kanan, and Kanan's like, yeah, because you were busy trying to kill me. And that's when Maul says, well, you just try again, and that's when he shoves him out the lock. A fun exchange between the two characters. I did enjoy that quite a bit. But also, Maul has given his droids, very discreetly given the word for the droids to go and terminate the crew of the Ghost. And Ezra doesn't know anything about that. He's in the chamber. They're going to merge the holocrons together. Ezra thinks he can get information that he needs to destroy the Sith. So he's kind of into this idea, right? Like he's like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to put these holocrons together, and I'm going to get what I want out of it. And then I'm going to shut you down. Ezra always thinks he's going to win. That's sort of his blind spot, right? A little bit of overconfidence. But again, Kanan's now the rogue element here because Maul thinks he's dead. So when he frees the crew of the Ghost and they go into the room and the holocrons have been merged and the vergence is happening and initially they can't see anything and Maul urges Ezra they have to push deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to get to the core of what they are both seeking to learn. And it's Kanan, removing his blinders, his little helmet, his little face guard, and being able to see through the light of the holocron where Maul and Ezra are and urging Ezra that, hey, we're going to win, but we're not going to win like this. And you giving Maul what he wants isn't going to help anybody. So eventually they're able to break the connection here, but not before they each see something. In the blinding of the light, as the holocrons come apart, Maul's able to make his escape. We find out that Ezra saw something. Twin suns. And then it's as Maul is making his way, dazed, out of the station back to his ship, that he is beginning to utter the words, he's alive. He's alive. And we know exactly who he's referring to. The one, the only, Kenobi. So this is a lot of setting up for the big showdown that comes later this season. And you will hear me in that episode argue that it may be the finest piece of Star Wars animation in the 20 plus years of Star Wars animation now. We will talk more in detail about that as we get to that episode, but that is something for us a lot to look forward to in this season, to be blunt. This is a really great season of the show, and a lot of really, really good standout episodes are here in this season. So we got to get ready. We got to keep our buckets on and do this thing, all right? So Maul makes his way out. The family comes back together, and they know that they will have to deal with Maul again. But for now, they are safe. They are together, and it's all good. It's Jiggy Baby, and that's the episode. And it's 8 buckets. Boom. 8 buckets. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Good stuff. I loved it. Loved it. Good episode. And again, setting the table for some big stuff to come. That being said, let's get the heck out of here, friends. What another fun installment of the Mando Vision podcast. So glad that you were here, Buckethead Nation. You guys continue to be the best supporters on the internets. I truly appreciate every single person who takes the time to download, stream, listen to this podcast, watch it on the YouTubes. I really do appreciate every single person who takes the time to do that. We are so glad to be part of this wonderful thing called the Star Wars fandom. And I think we're on the light side of it, the light side of the Star Wars fandom. No toxicity here. We're all good people. And we are here to have inclusive, welcoming discussions with even those who have a vast difference of opinion. They're welcome here too, as long as we're all kind and respectful to each other. That's what it's all about, friends. So let's go out there, be great Star Wars fans. And we'll be back next week. Get ready for another installment of Star Wars Rebels rewatch. And buckle up for that Peacemaker Season 1 look back that I will have hopefully out for you guys later this week. In the meantime, again, go out there, be great Star Wars fans, kind, supportive, respectful, and understanding. And know that we will be back next week. But this podcast, it can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47.
It's a trap!